ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Locked On ACC. I'm your host, Candace Cooper, and our Wednesday co-host is AJ Black from Locked On Boston College. You can find him at AJ_Black_BC. He is always here for a good time on Wednesday. He has got our rankings from Locked On ACC. We have that for the coming season, so he's going to go over that with us today. But first, I want to remind y'all about the season that is the NFL. Man, I can't believe it is here. We've got the Super Bowl champions kicking off on Thursday, but more importantly, we've got Locked On's ultimate season preview, taking you through every team and every decision with the help of Odyssey's Ross Tucker and Jason Lockenfora. Follow the Ultimate Season Preview 2021 feed on the Odyssey app or wherever you get podcasts. Now, AJ, welcome to the stage. I am excited to talk to you. I've been excited to talk to you since Saturday. I hope you've had a great weekend.
It was great getting back to BC for some football. I got to sit up in the press box and it was a good weekend all around, and come back and get my Twitter verification yanked for some reason I don't know, and go from there. It's been up and down, but you know what? Football's back. I can't complain.
Listen, that might be very on brand for how ACC football is.
I know, right?
It's kind of like you're living the dream. But I have to ask, how was it like to be in Boston College, be in the stadium, being able to cover live, and just seeing the fans? How was that energy?
It was incredible because, last year for Boston College, there was no fans. It was, Jeff Hafley's talked about over and over again that it's playing in front of cardboard cutouts for the whole season. To get there, when I got, the game started at noon. I got there to get into the press box at like 10:45, and the place was crazy. There were people everywhere, and and it felt like normal, and that was awesome. And Boston College has a whole system in place, which was, I go over it in depth on Locked On Boston College, but every fan had to be vaccinated. Every media member had to be vaccinated to get in. And they had a whole system with that. But once you got in, the student section was nuts, and they deserve to be. They did a great thing at BC. They allowed, I think it was last year's freshmen, the kids that didn't really get a year, to just run on the field before the team did. So there was the entire freshman class led the football team out. That was really cool. And then the game itself, it was fun, and it felt like we're back into some sense of normalcy. And I know things are not there yet, but just to see it, it was great.
Yeah, we love a team that gets to blank the opponent. It's always a fun day when you're just, piling on. I can't even lie. Yeah. So much good stuff there. And if you guys don't know, Wednesday episodes, AJ brings us our weekly rankings. So we have the AP poll that comes out, and 4 ACC teams sat at the top there. We had Virginia Tech, Miami, Carolina, and of course, I can't think of the last. Oh, Clemson, of course. Why am I even... Didn't have to look that up. Clemson was a 4 team there. So good stuff, but not as good as our Locked On ACC rankings, in my opinion. So every Wednesday, you are going to get a shift. Whether you see people move up or down on that poll, AJ has got us covered here. So we're going to start with 1 through 7, and I'm going to let AJ take it away. Let's go 1 through 7 here. AJ, tell us, who made it to the top and who is kind of sliding down there in the mid of the pack right now.
So someone I was talking to today asked me, like, why are you doing power rankings? Because they just change so often. But I'm like, you know what? They're fun. And they get people talking. So I'll start with number 7. My number 7 team is Pitt. Pitt just took care of business against UMass, who plays Boston College this week. Against UMass, you really can't take a ton from. So Pitt kind of just stayed the same. And then BC, I had at number 6, and they dropped a spot, but it wasn't because they did anything. It was just because there were so many teams that were moving backwards that I thought are still better than BC. That you can't take anything away from beating an FCS team, especially a Patriot League team. You just, they're supposed to beat them. You can take it away if you lose. That's one thing. But if you're beating Colgate, it's not like that's showing you much of anything. So they went back a little bit for me, but that was only because of who else is in front of them. And then so the opposite end of you can't really take anything from that is Miami, who dropped 2 spots, but they lost to Alabama. And I know they got buzzsawed by them, and it wasn't pretty. But just like you can't take anything about beating an FCS school, I don't think you could take anything from losing to Alabama, because Alabama they're a buzzsaw. They're a big time opponent. And every team, 1 through 14 on the ACC right now, I think would lose to Alabama.
not just
So
lose, AJ. I think they would get taken to the woodshed if they played Alabama week 1. I don't think any team in the ACC right now, I would give full confidence that wouldn't get beat by at least 3 touchdowns. At least.
Yeah, and De'Art King survived unscathed. I know we talked about that last week. That's what I can ask for. So they're at my number 5. They dropped back a little bit, but they're still, there's a couple, like every team on here, I think you can say like, well, you need to see more. So they're there. Then my biggest risers, I had 2 big risers in my rankings this week. And at number 4, Florida State.
Okay.
I was blown away at how good they looked against Notre Dame. They lost. They're 0-1, and wins don't count. I mean, losses don't count.
Right.
But what you saw out of them is a team with a lot of heart, which is what I expected with this team this season, because Mike Norvell kicked out all the guys that didn't want to be there, and now he's got his guys in there, and they look good.
Yeah,
I think they're going to be a problem in the ACC. I had them trump. That's a 7-team jump for the Seminoles for me.
That's amazing. And I think that a lot of their problems had to do with play calling more so than it had to do with actual execution and who the players were. You just saw them look kind of lost and out of sorts, especially on offense. I think Jordan Travis at times was doing a little too much, but hey, he still was able to put up 28 points, keep Florida State in the game. Notre Dame didn't play their best game, but they stressed them out enough to where you kind of like, okay, who is Florida State? We're putting people on notice that the Atlantic isn't going to be a cakewalk for Clemson as it once was.
Yeah, and so they're not my second ACC Atlantic team, though. That's NC State. I thought they looked real good. I think they're everything that I expected. And again, they're going to need to show more, but that's where they're at. My number 2, I said to Candace, I think it was either Saturday or Sunday, where I'm like, I need to swallow some crow on this one, because we started Locked On ACC with co-host, like a month and a half ago. And I swear every episode I was bashing Justin Fuente. And I was dead wrong on him, because that team looked very well coached against.
Yeah. You UVA. Think so?
Wow. I thought so. I thought, their offense was a little gimmicky. And Braxton Burmeister, if you have a good defense, they should be able to stop him. I don't know. I was, based off of everything I saw, you beat UNC, you move up. And so
fair.
When you're talking sports, it's week by week. So what'll end up happening is Fuente will go out and lay a turd against someone else, and then we'll be right back to talk about him getting fired. So he's my number 2. And I don't feel comfortable with it, but I'll put them there. And number 1, they're 0-1, but Clemson, I don't buy into that they're not going to be the top team in the ACC still. Georgia's defensive line was everything as advertised. They sacked DJ 7 times, and Clemson's offense just couldn't do anything against them. But I don't think, just like we said with Alabama, I don't think 1 through 14 on any of these offenses could have done anything, because that defense was that good.
Yeah, I 100% agree, but I also think DJ kind of showed like I'm still new at this energy, and like he's still figuring out his way, and we put a lot of pressure on him coming off of a Trevor Lawrence era. So I think that he will be just fine and he'll bounce back. But I got to get back to this Virginia Tech right quick, because Coach Fuente and the Virginia Tech Hokies tried to do everything to give Carolina that game, even though it should have been 35 to probably 10. It should have been 35-10, and it ended up being 17-10. And I think that they left a lot of points on the board. I think that they did not capitalize on certain opportunities, and they were wasting time for someone who has had all this time in possession. They had 10 more minutes than Carolina, and yet and still, I can't give Coach Fuente the win. I'd rather give it to, Trey Turner and Burmeister for figuring out. But also, Carolina just showed and laid an egg, if we're going to keep it a band. Like, I don't know who they were when they went out there, but they thought, we're top 10 teams, it's going to be nothing. It's hard to play in Lane Stadium on a Friday night every day of the week. Right. Like, it's hard to play in Lane Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, that was something. And you warned us all about it, Candace. So you got to check that one off on your box of I was right there, because you were totally right. Like, be careful when you say that UNC is going to be that good, because I don't know.
Carolina is hard because You listen to Mac Brown, and he is a snake oil salesman. He will sell you the dream. He can sell ice to a snowman. He is the guy that you want to believe in every single time. You're like, oh, hell yeah, we're great. We're the awesome team. And then I really stepped back, and I've said before a couple days here that if you look at and analyze the guys in the trenches, Carolina definitely doesn't have as many playmakers as you saw with our Jermaine Johnson of the world, right? You saw a lot of good offensive linemen throughout the weekend. I don't think Carolina has that necessarily. They've always been exposed. Offensive line has always been their Achilles heel. And now Sam Howell doesn't have wide receivers who can separate. So we're in trouble. But, it's fine. I think this is the one game. It was a week one. You guys showed who you were. Now you're sitting at number 24 in the country, and we'll just eat some humble pie there. But anywho, I still feel like there's time to bounce back, but we'll just have to see. So I want to remind you guys that if you are looking to bet on any of these 1 through 7 teams, strongly encourage you to hit up BetOnline.ag. Get all the latest odds, props, and contests, including online's biggest $500,000 NFL mega contest, the world's largest $200,000 NFL Survivor contest, open now at BetOnline. Head to visit the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive a 100% welcome bonus. Be sure to take advantage of our opening day promo for new customers only when signing up and using promo code NFL100 for the opening game. Again, I mentioned the Buccaneers playing the Dallas Cowboys. From basketball, football, and more for your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait and take advantage of all the great offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is your online sportsbook experts. Please use promo code LOCKEDON. We're here with AJ Black from Locked On Boston College. You can find him at AJ Black_BC. He will be talking through the rankings throughout this year. So now we're at 8 through 14. We are going to talk about guys who probably thought they were off to a good start, but maybe find themselves at the back of the pack when it comes to the conference. AJ, what you got?
So let's start with number 8 because it was my biggest dropper in this entire.
I can only guess.
I'm sure you can. And that's the UNC Tar Heels, who dropped down to number 8. That was a rough game.
Laid an egg. Like from start to finish, it just seemed as if Carolina forgot that they were playing. Like, this is the season. Here we are. No more scrimmages. No more hitting your brothers. Like, you're live action. And Virginia Tech has never been anything to sniff at and always been one of those teams that Carolina has to play their best football with, and they just really didn't.
Yeah, and they looked beat in the trenches. They didn't look like they had very much on, as you said, the weapon on offense in terms of the weapons. It just didn't look like a team that A, could win the Coastal Conference, and B, I had said, we were talking about them possibly challenging Clemson. It's a long season, but they dropped quite a bit for me.
You drank the Mac Brown juice, AJ, and that's okay. Okay. It's hard not to. He's great at what he does.
This is why the first car I bought was I got sold a car that had a huge engine problem, and I thought it was going to be the greatest car, and I was so excited to bring it to the prom. Ended up stalling out all over the place. I buy anything, I get sold a bill of sales, and sometimes it's a mess.
It's okay. Me too.
So UNC, they dropped 9 and 10. There's UVA and Wake. I mean, Wake beat Old Dominion. UVA beat William and Mary. Fine, whatever. Not much to say about either of that. Number 11, another team that rose for me was Syracuse. I put Syracuse up. I thought they looked pretty good. I mean, they were, I think, underdogs against Ohio. They ran the ball well, which Dino Babers offenses never do. They've got a really dynamic new cornerback in Deuce Chestnut, who should have ended up at Boston College because BC plays at Chestnut Hill. But anyways, look good. So they rise. Now we'll go to the teams that were terrible, that were just, okay. I mean, I'm going to tell you what it is. Like Louisville dropped precipitously for me because what they showed me on Monday night, I figured they'd lose to Ole Miss, but they looked every bit as unprepared as they did last year. And I have to wonder, their big issue, I said, this is a team that many got, I feel like Mark Shablock of ESPN liked them. Mm-hmm. They, all they had to do was fix their turnover problems and they'd be fine. They outgained opponents by 50 yards a game last year. Well, they were right back to turnover over the ball and playing unbelievably poor on both sides of the ball. They're a mess. And Scott Satterfield is in trouble. I don't know how he's going to turn this around. Malik Cunningham, I don't know what is going on there. And I know
I saw a stat that he literally leads the team in like passing, rushing, and something else, and like yards per game or something, where he leads everything. He's the best player on the team. And to see last night, like not for nothing, we haven't got a chance to talk about on the show this week, but Ole Miss beat Louisville 43-24. Malik Cunningham was only 191 total yards for the day, and he threw one interception, but he tried his best. I mean, he did not have any help. 4 players were ejected in that game for targeting. It was probably, that's what you remember most, which is awful. Like, we could have a whole segment on targeting and my thoughts around it, because I just think it's crazy. I'm so glad I saw an era of football where, yes, they probably have issues to this day, but I live for a good hard hit. Now, is it awful? Absolutely. I'm not condoning some of the craziness that I saw, but at the same time, if you're a defender, it's almost impossible to play your game correctly. It's hard to try and, like, every single move, you have to just be so meticulous about how you operate, or else you'll be out of the game. So I think they have to revisit the ejection part of it. I give maybe a warning, if it's blatant. Like, I think there has to be more levels to that.
Right.
Sorry for the aside.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, because you see some of these ejections for targeting, and some of them you're like, what is the defender supposed to do? Yeah. Like, he's trying to do his job. If like an offensive like weapon lowers his head and the defender tries to tackle him, it's just natural that his head's going to hit him, and then he gets called for targeting. It's just crazy. Yeah, I agree with you, Candace. Like, flags or warnings, I think, are the best way to do it.
And not for nothing, we also had Matt Corral, who clearly had one of the best games, and he is now on Heisman watch. We thought we'd be talking about Sam Howell, but here we are. It's fine. Totally fine. but Louisville overall looked terrible. I completely agree with you.
And the score doesn't dictate it, because they were out of that game by the end of the first quarter.
Yeah.
But so they dropped a lot. But you know what? Malik Cunningham, as you just said, like, he might be good enough to win some games just running the ball over and over again if he has to.
Mm-hmm.
But they've got an uphill climb. Another one dropped down 3 spots for me is Georgia Tech, a team I thought was going to be good. Another team I
wrong. Now that's one I believe too, AJ. I definitely was in on Coach Collins, and I thought they were going to have a different year. But Jeff Sims being injured in the first game in the second quarter, I was like, okay, you don't have the greatest backup, but also they were all over the place in terms of their game. And you don't lose to Northern Illinois, a team that only won 1 game last year in the MAC.
Yeah, and the big thing was Thomas Hammock, the head coach of NIU, said after the game that he had, and I don't have the notes in front of me, but a formation that he kept calling over and over again that Georgia Tech just had no answer to. And he was just coaching circles around Jeff Collins, and it was, I know a lot of Georgia Tech people were really bummed after that game. It was a tough loss. I mean, to lose to NIU, as you said, won 1 game last year. Bad loss for the Yellow Jackets. And really, it depends on how bad that injury is to Sims, but they could be in some tough shape moving forward.
I'm not going to say we should bring back the triple option, but I'm not going to say we shouldn't. You know what I mean? Like, it was working. It's hard to defend, and I think it's one of those staple things that Georgia Tech had going for them. But now it's like, okay, you're trying to be like everybody else, but it's not working for you.
I think there's nothing wrong with the triple option. Like, Army has made their bones with it. Like, they are a program that can, like, win games with that. Like, if you're a team, I guess Georgia Tech can recruit, but, like, think of, like, I think of teams like UMass or UConn or, like, some of these other schools that are independent. Like, what hurts doing the triple option? Like, you could get guys in here to do it. You're not going to get guys to the pros anyway, so why not try it out?
Exactly. All right, is that your worst team of the week?
No, Duke.
No, that's not nice.
Dude, poor Duke. Like, David Cutcliffe is a nice guy.
He is.
Mateo Durant is a good running back, but there is nothing on that team. And they lost to Charlotte, who has, Will Healy's a good coach, but it's going to be a long season for them. I don't know.
I was telling JJ though, like, this is low key, how it's Coach K's farewell tour. I think this is silent, quiet as it's kept, Coach Cut's retirement tour as well. We just it's not been officially announced, because if they can't beat Charlotte, it's time you have an evaluation, right? It's time you go maybe enjoy family. It's time that you maybe think that you pass the torch and figure who's next. And if that's the case, we have, again, a whole episode about who would want the Duke job. It's not a poor job. It's not an awful job, but at the same time, it's a lot. It's a lot to take on. There's a different, experience there.
Yeah. It's one of those programs where you got to get the right person in there. And, if you fail, it's you're now 10 years behind. You know what I mean?
Yes, 100% agree. Now, did you guys know that 85% of people who play daily fantasy sports lose? It is really that surprising, though, because the game is rigged against you. Introducing StatHero, it's the first ever daily fantasy sports book that puts the player in control and winning within reach. You name the stakes, winner takes all. You have the advantage, and StatHero is showing you their lineups ahead of time. No one else does that. You're in total control. StatHero is a draft fantasy sports the way it was meant to be, one-on-one. You got to play StatHero now and change the odds. Go to stathero.com/lockedon, sign up for free, and right now you can get 3 times back your first play. They're giving you a 300% match. That's unheard of. Go to stathero.com/lockedon. That's stathero.com/lockedon. And after you do that, you've got everything going with your StatHero. You might as well get your snack ready for, again, another great football season. And that you can't go without Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar ever with 9 delicious flavors that are 100% covered in chocolate. Built Bar is even more delicious. So there's something for everyone. Know what my favorite flavor is? Personally, I like mint brownie. You can do a little peanut butter brownie every now and again. But if you want to get a little taste of everything, certainly suggest you guys try the mixed box where you get 2 of each of the 9 flavors. Not only are Built Bar's flavors the best tasting, but they're healthy too. Most of the flavors have 17 to 18 grams of protein and just 4 to 5 grams of sugar. Order today and get that mint brownie or that peanut butter brownie or whatever you like by going to BuiltBar.com. Use promo code LOCK15 and you'll get 15% off your first order. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at BuiltBar.com. Wrapping up today's show here with AJ Black from Locked on Boston College. And listen, I would love to go back to final thoughts. You're talking about Carolina, but more importantly, the highs and lows that is the ACC. I think for me, I wasn't expecting it to be so lackluster. Like, of course, we're going to lose some games. Miami, fine. Georgia, Clemson, I thought that was going to be the game that everyone had such high expectations for. They were going to carry the conference. It really turned out to be Florida State and Notre Dame. I was so impressed with how Florida State stepped up. And being in Tallahassee, they've really fed into the energy. Can't say that for every team, though. It really just was not the case. What were your thoughts, just going into week 1 and seeing all the action?
It just seemed it's exciting to watch teams play. And as I said before, I was wrong on just the first week on quite a few things, and I will eat humble pie for all of that. But I liked seeing the energy, seeing the fans back. The scene that will always stick with me about the start of the season has to be the Enter Sandman for Lane Stadium. That place was crazy to see the energy there, and just that feel like, at the end of the day, you get back to the ACC didn't look great, but college football's back in a normal way, and that's great. It feels normal. It feels like you're watching college football. Last year it was nice to have it, but it felt wonky. You had games where like Trevor Lawrence missed, and you had, games getting canceled all over the place, and people were just more concerned about being safe than getting the games on. Now that they can get the games going, it's like, ooh, this is nice. This feels normal again. I keep saying that, but to see that was great. In terms of the ACC, obviously Clemson losing was big because they're the flagship school right now of the conference, and to see them get beat up so badly by Georgia was surprising. And to see the ACC, basically I think they went 0-3 against the SEC. Not good. And now you get a couple more swings at it. You have Pitt this week against Tennessee, and then 2 weeks from now you get BC and Mizzou. Two random pairings, but you get those chances to get some swings back at the other conference. But all in all, it was a tough week for the conference. But I think Clemson will eventually turn it around. Getting a health, man. Think about it now, right? The way Clemson's playing, the way they looked against Florida State, with what happened last year between those two schools, that's going to be a fun game.
100% agree. Yeah.
Florida State's going to be amped up because of what Clemson, all that drama that went on between the two schools. So that's going to be something fun. So that's, you get some new storylines in there. And then you got to see the other programs, see who else can kind of rise up. Can Boston College rise up? Can Pitt rise up? Is Virginia Tech as real as it is? These are things that we'll learn more from, but you get the kind of first nugget in that first week.
Yeah, I think people thought Clemson was going, like, they look at the schedule like, oh, well, Clemson pretty much has a cakewalk for the rest of the year. And while, I do think it's going to be better for them, they're going to come off this loss and feel really good. They're like really hungry. I don't think it's going to be as easy as people think. I see some of these teams, especially the NC States and the Florida States of the world, even Boston College, right? And I say, okay, Bill Dracovic and Zay Flowers had it. They were both players of the week in their respective categories. They came out looking great defensively. Boston College is still figuring out, but I felt good about what I've been predicting, that Boston College is going to be scary. Seeing Florida State just step up to the plate, seeing NC State just, bulldoze USF. And while that wasn't exactly the best opponent, you still had NC State's playmakers delivering at a high level. I think you could almost argue that they deserve to be in the top 25, but hopefully once they play a couple more games in season, we can definitely find them somewhere, because Ricky Persons, Bam Knight going off, Devin Leary doing what he had to do, but defensively, Tanner Ingle, Peyton Wilson holding it down. So I'm just excited about what's to come from conference play. I think if anything, the Virginia Tech Carolina game gave you a taste of when you get in there, right? It might be you're an underdog, but you don't have to leave the underdog. That's why you play the game. That's why we predict all summer and we give our little list, but it does not matter until the whistle blows and we see it firsthand.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. I have a tendency to be more dramatic, to get into some negative things. But as you're saying, right? Ricky Person, like, that was one name that popped off, and Jordan Scott at Florida State, right? You get these new names that pop up, and you're like, whoa, okay,
yeah,
it's gonna be fun to watch some of these new stars pop up. And maybe DJ Uiagalelei is not at the Heisman level yet, but he'll get there.
Yeah.
And to watch him grow, it's more fun to watch a Clemson, as you said, a Clemson team grow, or a good team grow, than to just be a truck all the time, right? You don't like, what's fun about watching Alabama just shred everybody? I mean, I guess it's fun, but
it's fun for Alabama, but nobody else. No, you're absolutely right.
You want to see the battle. You want to see the struggle, and that shows you what kind of coach Dabo is, right? If Dabo can take a team that isn't looking great now, but all of a sudden by the end of the year, they're clicking, they're scoring 40 points a game. Okay. You're starting to see why Clemson's Clemson. And that's much more fun than watching them just run through everybody. It's just from a neutral perspective,
Dabo loves a sob story. He loves to have that fake chip. So if anything, he is going to relish in this fact. He's going to speak to those players next game, and he's going to speak to them come into season, the ACC championship game. Like, nobody believed in y'all week one. Everyone called y'all out and said you were done for, DJ, blah, blah. Like, it's right. It's painting itself. Okay. Like, this is exactly the storyline we're going to see at the end of the season. I won't put my rent check up close, but it would be close.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, AJ, so appreciate your time. Can you please remind folks of where they can find you and follow your work?
Yeah, I'm the editor and publisher of bcbulletin.com, part of the Fan Nation Sports Illustrated Network. You can check out all my work there. I'm also the host of Locked On Boston College. We do a show 5 days a week if you want to hear more about my thoughts about BC. Talk about everything. I talked about Randy Edsel yesterday, who just left at UConn, and I could spin that into a Boston College story. I'm very good at that. Check that out, Locked On BC, on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow me on Twitter at AJBlack_BC.
No doubt. And we'll have the full list of AJ's power rankings there on at Locked On ACC. We'll have that for you, and you guys can follow. Make sure you subscribe to the pod on the Odyssey app or wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can listen to us and find us, watch us, all that good stuff on YouTube. Reminder that if you have not yet and you want to bet on the season with a podcast, we strongly encourage you hit up new Locked On Bets with your boy Q and handicapping expert Lee Sterling. Get daily picks, blowout specials, wrong team favorite picks, and Lee Sterling's lock of the day. You can find that podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts as well. Brought to you by BetOnline.ag. For Candace Cooper and AJ Black, we hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Happy Wednesday. Make it great. And until next time.
All right.